In my mind, worlds collide, something inside me is gone. Still I keep going on.
Hey, what is up guys? TOHO here. Welcome back to a brand new video. We're going to talk some SpaceGodzilla in the Monsterverse. Yeah, we're going to piggyback off the hype of Godzilla X Kong SuperNova. Oh wait, if you're new to the channel and maybe you somehow don't know what's going on, well, let me break it down to you in the most simple way possible. Legendary Pictures has announced that the newest installment to the Monsterverse franchise is in pre-production, or is in production. I don't think they use the word pre, but it is in production, and they dropped the title, just like last time where they just dropped the title for the next movie, which ended up being Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. We have Godzilla X Kong SuperNova coming out in March of 2027, and I can't wait. And with a name like SuperNova, fans are speculating that a space kaiju of some sort is coming to the Monsterverse. And rather it being original, we have no idea, but the popular vote is that it's either SpaceGodzilla or Gigan. And for the first time ever, I'm siding with the fandom. I'm putting my tinfoil hat on. I genuinely think and hope it is SpaceGodzilla. And we're going to primarily talk about SpaceGodzilla. I could talk about Gigan in another video and just kind of see how it works, but SpaceGodzilla just seems like the best overall choice to add to the Monsterverse. Normally I'm a skeptic, and whenever they announce a new Monsterverse title or we know another one's coming, a lot of fans hope and cry and plead to Legendary that they go and get the license to their favorite TOHO monster. And the reality is there's really no point, because a lot of them are obscure and TOHO is asking for a lot of money for those licenses that they're probably going to only use once. And it's just easier to make a new Titan, make a new kaiju altogether to add to the Godzilla roster as a whole, but mainly for Legendary Pictures. And that was abundantly clear to me, and it seemed like the coffin was sealed with the recent installment of Godzilla X Kong The New Empire, when we got the new additions of Shimo and Scar King. But it does seem like hope is over the horizon, and it is likely that Legendary has shelled out some money to grab a IP from TOHO, almost a Legendary, from TOHO Pictures. It's not TOHO Pictures, is it? Fuck it, I'm gonna go with it. And they're giving us possibly SpaceGodzilla. And if they're not, I was talking to my friend Orange Troll. You've seen him on the channel here and there, right? He helps with the channel. I was talking to him like, what if it's neither right now? What if it's neither an original Monsterverse space kaiju in this movie, nor is it SpaceGodzilla as of right now? What if they release the title and they're getting feedback, and they're going to use that feedback to make a final decision? So who knows? That's a theory within itself. I mean, it's just barely in production. I doubt any CGI work is being done, and anything can be replaced in an instant, right? So I think that it could be either way right now. Right now, it could be an original Titan, and they're like, you know what? The fan feedback is really strong. We're going to shell out that money and get SpaceGodzilla. Or the feedback is largely negative. We're going to go with an original space kaiju for this one. Either way, in this video, I'm going to talk about why I think it's going to be SpaceGodzilla and why it makes sense to have SpaceGodzilla. Why SpaceGodzilla actually fits so perfectly into the Monsterverse, despite what people might be saying. Now, keep in mind, this is just an opinion, and it seems a lot of people out there since the birth of the Monsterverse have already made their opinions on a lot of different kaiju making it to the Monsterverse. And a lot of popular YouTubers, I think, such as D-Man and Rob and GojiFan 1993, at least back in the day, I'm not up to date with their opinions now or what it is, but it seemed like back then that the idea of Mechagodzilla being introduced to the Monsterverse was such a far-fetched and stupid idea that I can only imagine what they think about a SpaceGodzilla. But of course, that's not me being really fair, and I haven't even bothered to see what they even think about all this. I just kind of been keeping to myself mostly. But a large portion of the fan base seems to be kind of split on this. They're either for SpaceGodzilla or they're not for SpaceGodzilla. And for those, I do want to try to change your opinions, or try to at least look at SpaceGodzilla through a different lens if you're on the fence about it. But of course, I'm not going to change anyone's opinions here. It's not going to happen, but these are just my opinions, and For any of those rare people out there, try not to be offended about it. Now, I am going to try to break this down into a couple different categories here. Starting with the first category, that SpaceGodzilla is just a popular character in the Godzilla fan base and the Godzilla roster. When you think of the Godzilla top 5, it's famously Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah, and Mechagodzilla. But what's after that? What's the 6? I would argue that it's SpaceGodzilla, because in any toy line, at least in the US, any toy line back in the day had SpaceGodzilla front and center. And in the video games, SpaceGodzilla is largely a huge antagonist. Look at the Atari trilogy. I don't think SpaceGodzilla is a destroyer of monsters, granted, from my memory at least, but Save the Earth and Unleash, SpaceGodzilla was the villain. And it's just, don't get me started on the comic series as well. SpaceGodzilla is arguably a popular character, and it took me forever to kind of realize that. It wasn't up until this announcement, when I started doing research, I was like, dang, this is actually a really popular character. He even has his own Magic the Gathering card. Hell, on the Japanese cover for the Godzilla PS4 game, it's Godzilla and SpaceGodzilla. And this guy only had one film debut, mind you. And I would say adding SpaceGodzilla to this film is going to increase his popularity by like 1,000%. Because check this out. Ready? It's another Godzilla that can be marketed. Whoa. SpaceGodzilla is probably the easiest toy to sell to kids as of right now, because it's another Godzilla. It is yet another version of Godzilla. And for me, I don't like the name SpaceGodzilla, but it's simple. It's straight to the point. It's a version of Godzilla. It is a space version of Godzilla. It is so easy to market to kids. It is so easy to market to general audiences. Yeah, probably a dumb name, but at the same time, it's genius because it's so simple and straightforward, especially for today's market. I mean, look at what they're doing of Godzilla. We have Godzilla, then we have another version of Godzilla for King of the Monsters, then there's a burning Godzilla, an energized Godzilla, battle damage Godzilla if they wanted to, but then there's Godzilla evolved and supercharged Godzilla. It's like there's always going to be toys. There's always going to be opportunity for toys just with Godzilla, but now you got SpaceGodzilla thrown in the mix. Oh my god, like Mechagodzilla, Godzilla evolved, SpaceGodzilla. It's just perfect. It's perfect. So that's why I think it just makes sense, because it's another Godzilla that they can just sell to general audiences and the kids and the collectors and dumbasses like me. Now I'm going to get into his abilities and how his abilities are just perfect for this next installment of the Monsterverse. Let's look at where we ended off in GXK. Godzilla's evolved, and he's 20 times stronger than he used to be, right? Kong has a beast glove and a whole ass kingdom in the hollow earth. There's Mothra. Mothra is back. And now Shimo. Shimo can bring the Ice Age. Shimo is probably second to Godzilla. And not to mention that Monarch probably has Mechagodzilla locked up somewhere. Just keep in mind, I'll have to make a video about this. Mechagodzilla wasn't completely destroyed. He was just torn limb from limb. He can be rebuilt. So if they wanted to, they could bring Mechagodzilla back, but that's pure speculation. So take Mechagodzilla out of the equation. It doesn't matter, because Team Godzilla, Team Monarch, Team Earth is strong as hell. And what we need is a really strong kaiju that can counter this team, because it's a strong army. And not to mention that Godzilla is still the king of the monsters, and he still has all of his disciples at his disposal as well. He can do an alpha call and call them into war if they wanted to. So we really need a strong Titan here. And obviously Destroy is a good pick, but SpaceGodzilla, first of all, SpaceGodzilla, he's in space. You know how much of a tough motherfucker you have to be to survive and thrive in the vacuum of space? You have to survive and deal with some pretty harsh conditions, the most harsh conditions that life can even throw at you. And this guy, especially in the original film, he's just casual about it. He's totally fine in space. And oh my, how cold is space actually? 2.7 Kelvin? Oh my god. I mean, we don't know how much to scale, like when it comes to Shimo's frost breath, but considering that space is just the coldest thing ever that we have to scale in our world right now, I would say that SpaceGodzilla is a perfect counter to Shimo, because if he survives in the temperature of space, he can totally withstand Shimo's Frost Blast. So Shimo's just completely just at a disadvantage here because her one ability probably stands no chance to Space Godzilla, a being that survives in the harsh climate of space, the temperature of space. And not to mention Space Godzilla's crystals. Space Godzilla can fly. Let's get back to the crystals though. He can form these crystals and make a fortress. He can use these crystals to get infinite power. He can use the crystals as projectiles. He has an atomic breath, which is even an atomic breath. It's like some space corona beam. I forgot what the trademark for it was. And he can form a shield that can even deflect Godzilla's atomic breath. Like, what else there needs to be? Did I mention he can fly? Yeah, I quickly mentioned that awkwardly. Yeah, but he can fly too. He's a complete perfect counter to our current team of the Monsterverse. As their current state right now, he can counter Godzilla Evolved, not only on an offensive and defensive standpoint, but he also mops the floor with Kong and his army, and not to mention Mothra. Mothra stands no chance against this guy. One crystal and she's impaled. She's done. His abilities is crazy. And they can even add more abilities too. Space Godzilla has fucking holy shit. He could use the mind thing, telekinesis. He can use telekinesis probably. He can probably fuck with your mind. He can probably take control of the other Titans. Maybe they can do some plot where it's like inferior Titans or something with inferior, who knows, but who knows what other like weaponry he has under his belt. But I know in the comics he destroyed a black hole. Like, this is the villain you need for the Monsterverse to, with his abilities like that, we need him for the Monsterverse because our team right now is just completely overpowered. But now for our final category, for character wise, Space Godzilla is just something we absolutely need. Let's look at the original film. Space Godzilla probably, at least in the Heisei series, or maybe in the Showa series, he's the first kaiju, maybe second to Destroya, or he's first to Destroya, to have evil intent. Most villains in the Godzilla roster, I would say that they're just depicted as a force of nature, or they're doing things that seem to be evil, but they're not doing it for evil reasons. Space Godzilla is just an evil dickhead. He comes to Earth, he picks a fight with Godzilla, he forms a plan, he's able to form plans, and he kidnaps Godzilla's son, and he's able to go and make a fortress out of crystals. Now, in the Monsterverse, we're no strangers to kaiju that are evil. I would say that Mechagodzilla is definitely evil because it's the AI and Ghidorah's soul mixed together, making a whole new entity. I would say that's evil. Scar King, obviously Scar King is evil, but Space Godzilla is on another level, I would say. Space Godzilla can potentially be even more intelligent than Scar King, which I think just by itself is crazy. Because Scar King, he's intelligent. He's an ape. He's pretty much like our ancestor, really far ancestor. He's capable of enslaving Shimo and being a dictator pretty much. But Space Godzilla, I think he can mop the floor intelligent-wise with Scar King. And I know that Adam Wingard pretty much made, in GXK, he made an anti-Kong, and Shimo was supposed to be like the anti-Godzilla, but not really. Shimo wasn't really an anti-Godzilla. There's nothing about her that was really like the complete opposite of Godzilla. I would say that Space Godzilla is the perfect anti-Godzilla. I think even more perfect than Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla is not necessarily an anti-Godzilla. I know people would probably give him that title, but I would argue that Mechagodzilla is more of just like your evil doppelganger, not necessarily you're in like the anti-version of like oneself, just an evil man. If you want to say that he is like an anti-Godzilla, then he's probably the best man-made anti-Godzilla weapon. Space Godzilla would be the perfect, just nature-crafted anti-Godzilla, really. It's the best way I can articulate it. It's like we do have, I guess you can argue that Mechagodzilla and Space Godzilla being the perfect anti-Godzilla characters, but Space Godzilla gets the edge because he's organically made by nature, and Mechagodzilla is made more as a weapon to kill Godzilla and take control back over the Titans for humanity. But SpaceGodzilla is just SpaceGodzilla. He probably wants to create not order and stability for the galaxy. He probably wants to cause chaos and disrupt the balance anywhere he goes. But that's just me just assuming. But character-wise, for how intelligent that he can capably be, the form plans, the form strategy, and just have absolute evil intent. Just the perfect anti-Godzilla. Like, we have GXK that focus more on Kong and his story and finding an anti-version of himself. This movie, hopefully, focusing more on Godzilla and his story. Godzilla taking on an anti-version of himself. And then we have the perfect duology of the anti-foe duology. I don't know. Anti-Kong, anti-Godzilla. Hell yeah. That's just... At this point, I'm just kind of rambling. I've redone this so many times, and I know I've messed up here and there where it arguably would have needed some editing and tweaking, but I'm done for the day. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. I need to end this video ASAP, but before I do, let me take a pause here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Subscribe if you are new, and of course, if you liked the video, please like it. Check out my other videos where I talk about SpaceGodzilla. I'm on my grind. I really want to cover this movie all the way until its release. I missed out on GXK because GXK came out at a weird time in my life where I wasn't wanting to motivate to make videos. And on top of it too, normally I do trailer reactions. I got sick the day GXK's trailer came out. And that really killed my motivation to make videos. This time around, I want to be here for every step of the way, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. And as always, stay awesome.